You've been giving her the silent treatment for days, maybe even weeks, thinking it will make her chase you or realize what she's lost. But here's the brutal truth: she's probably relieved. While you're sitting there checking your phone every 5 minutes, hoping for a text that never comes, she's moved on with her life and possibly with someone else. The ancient Stoics understood something that modern men completely miss about power dynamics. True power isn't about withholding your presence as punishment. It's about becoming so valuable that your presence becomes a privilege, not a given. Marcus Aurelius never had to play games with silence because he understood real control comes from within, not from manipulating others' emotions. Today, I'm going to show you why your silence strategy is backfiring spectacularly and reveal the Stoic power strategies that actually work to shift relationship dynamics in your favor, not through manipulation, but through genuine strength. Let's address the elephant in the room. If you're using silence as a weapon, you've already lost. The Stoics taught that when you need to control someone else's behavior to feel powerful, you're actually demonstrating how powerless you are. Real power, the kind that naturally shifts relationship dynamics, comes from Stoic emotional control and genuine self-mastery. It's not about making her miss you, it's about becoming someone worth missing. Most men use silence thinking it creates scarcity and makes them more desirable. The logic seems sound: if I withdraw my attention, she'll realize how much she values it and come chasing after me. But this strategy has a fatal flaw. It assumes she was already highly invested in your attention. If someone is already losing interest or feeling indifferent about you, your silence doesn't create longing, it creates relief. She's not wondering where you are, she's enjoying the peace and quiet. When you use silence to punish someone, you're operating from a place of emotional reactivity, not strength. You're essentially saying, "You hurt me, so now I'm going to hurt you back by withholding myself." This is the opposite of Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." When you use silence as punishment, you're being exactly like the person who hurt you, reactive and manipulative. While you're playing the silence game, several things are likely happening. First, she's probably talking to friends about how immature your behavior is. Second, she might be using this time to evaluate whether she wants someone who handles conflict by disappearing. Third, and most importantly, she's learning to live without your presence, which is the exact opposite of what you wanted. Epictetus taught that we only have power over our own actions, thoughts, and responses. Everything else, including how others feel about us, is outside our control. When you try to control someone through silence, you're attempting to exercise power you don't actually have. Real power in relationships comes from being so centered in your own worth that you don't need to manipulate outcomes. You speak your truth, maintain your standards, and let others decide how they want to respond. Stoics focus on what philosophers call an internal locus of control. This means your sense of worth, happiness, and security comes from within, not from external validation or control over others. When your power comes from within, you don't need her to chase you to feel valuable. You don't need her to miss you to feel important. You don't need her to react to your silence to feel in control. This is perhaps the most attractive quality a person can develop: genuine outcome independence. When you truly don't need a specific response from someone to maintain your peace of mind, you naturally become more attractive and influential. But here's the key: this has to be real, not performed. People can sense the difference between genuine outcome independence and fake indifference. The worst place to be in any relationship isn't hatred, it's indifference. When someone is angry with you, they're still emotionally invested. When they're indifferent, they've mentally moved on. If your silence isn't affecting her, it's likely because she's reached a point of indifference. She's not wondering what you're thinking or feeling because she's stopped caring about what you're thinking or feeling. Many women have dealt with men who use silence as manipulation before. They've learned that the best response to this behavior is to simply enjoy the peace and quiet it provides. Instead of panicking or chasing, she might be using this time to focus on herself, spend time with friends, or even explore other options. Your silence has become a gift she didn't know she needed. Sometimes she's not responding to your silence because she's waiting to see if you're mature enough to break the cycle and communicate like an adult. She's essentially calling your bluff, waiting to see if you'll choose pride or connection. Before you can influence any external situation, you must master your internal state. This means processing your hurt, anger, or disappointment without projecting it onto others. The Stoics practice daily self-examination. Ask yourself, am I reacting from ego or responding from wisdom? Am I trying to punish her or am I trying to solve a problem? Stoic relationship advice. Feel your emotions fully, but don't let them make your decisions. Once you've processed your feelings internally, you can respond from a place of strength rather than reactivity. Instead of using silence to communicate your displeasure, communicate directly. But here's the crucial difference. Speak from a place of self-respect, not victimhood. Instead of, you hurt me, so now I'm ignoring you until you apologize. Try, I need to address something that's affecting how I feel in this relationship. When can we talk? This approach shows emotional maturity and gives the other person a chance to engage constructively. The most attractive thing you can do during relationship challenges is to become better. Use this time to work on yourself, pursue your goals, and develop your character. This isn't about making her jealous. It's about becoming the kind of person who handles difficulties with grace and wisdom. When you're genuinely focused on self-improvement, you naturally become more attractive. There's a difference between healthy boundaries and punitive silence. Boundaries are about protecting your energy and maintaining your standards. Punishment is about making someone else feel bad. A boundary sounds like, I need some space to think about what I want in this relationship. Punishment sounds like complete silence with no explanation. Instead of trying to create scarcity through absence, create value through presence. When you do interact, be the kind of person others want to be around. Positive, growth-focused, and emotionally stable. Show her what she's missing, not by disappearing, but by being so genuinely attractive that your presence enhances her life. If you've been using silence inappropriately, the strongest thing you can do is acknowledge it. This doesn't mean begging or groveling. It means taking responsibility like a mature person. I realize I handled our disagreement poorly by going silent instead of communicating. That wasn't fair to either of us. I'd like to have a real conversation about what happened. The Stoics believed in virtue as a way of life, not as a temporary strategy. Instead of cycling between silence, love bombing, and other manipulative tactics, develop consistent character traits that make you naturally attractive. Be reliable, honest, emotionally stable, and growth-oriented. These qualities create lasting attraction rather than temporary interest. Ask yourself, what kind of relationship do I actually want? If you want a healthy, mature partnership, then your approach to conflict and communication needs to reflect that goal. Short-term manipulation tactics might create temporary reactions, but they destroy long-term trust and respect. The reason your silence isn't affecting her is probably because she's either moved to indifference or she's mature enough to recognize manipulative behavior when she sees it. Either way, continuing down this path will only push her further away. Here's what you should do instead. First, acknowledge to yourself that silence as punishment doesn't work and isn't aligned with your values as a mature person. Second, decide whether this relationship is worth fighting for. If it is, then fight for it with honesty, maturity, and direct communication. Third, focus on becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to use manipulation tactics because their authentic self is attractive enough. Remember, true power in relationships doesn't come from making someone chase you. It comes from being so grounded in your own worth that you don't need anyone to chase you to feel valuable. The Stoics taught that we can only control our own actions and responses. Stop trying to control her reactions and start controlling your own character development. That's where real power lies, and that's what creates genuine, lasting attraction. If this video helped you recognize some patterns in your own behavior and gave you a better path forward, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Stoic Mind Fortress. We're here to help you build real strength and authentic attractiveness through timeless philosophical principles.